Thanks for staying with us. I'm Akshay Tandon. According to multiple reports, we're now learning that Ford government is getting set to close so-called safe consumption sites near schools in the province. Health Minister Sylvia Jones is expected to make the announcement to a gathering of municipal leaders this afternoon. The new regulations will not allow consumption sites within 200 meters of a school. The change will result in the closure of 10 sites in Ottawa, Guelph, Hamilton, Thunder Bay, Kitchener and Toronto no later than March 31st, 2025. The Ford government is pointing to a rise in crime around these centres as the reason for the closures. CTV's Natalie Johnson is following the story for us. Good afternoon, Natalie. It's good to see you. Talk to us about what does this really mean for those who rely on the safe consumption sites?
Well, certainly harm reduction advocates here in Toronto are saying that this move by the province stands to cost lives. They say that these supervised consumption sites are incredible resources for the people who rely on them for, safe injection, as well as the broader health services that they offer. And so there is a lot of angst, frankly, around the community, who now is set to lose 5 different supervised consumption sites here in Toronto. They claim that this is the wrong move and that the Ford government is putting politics over policy. But this is the result of 2 different reviews that were ordered by the government following the death of a Toronto woman, Carolina Huebner-Raccarat, who was killed last summer, hit by a stray bullet. As a result of a shooting in front of one of these supervised consumption sites. The government, indicating that this is evidence that perhaps there are broader safety concerns here. And as we understand it, today we'll be announcing that any of these sites within 200 meters of schools will have to shut down by March.
So, Natalie, do we know if they will be reopening these sites somewhere else, which is not close to a school?
I think all of this stands to be seen. It will depend on exactly what the government announces this afternoon, Akshay. It may be up to the individual providers to assess whether or not there is the ability to move these specific sites. So many of them are located inside community health centers. And as I say, they do offer broader health support services, including rehabilitation and treatment programs to the clients. So there is a question here as to whether they move the entire center, whether these are, standalone injection centers that are then created away from school zones. There are a lot of questions to be asked, and certainly a lot of people here in Toronto are waiting to see how this plays out. The Board of Health chair, for one, expected to respond this afternoon through a health lens. The chief of police was asked about it this morning. He said he is waiting to see the details, but that his force is ready to respond appropriately.
And one last question, Natalie. What happens to those who have been employed at these centres? Well, we're talking about 5 in Toronto, 5 elsewhere, 10 in total. There are people who have their jobs, their livelihood attached with these centres. That's a concern as well.
These are all good questions, and I think it is early days in order to answer that. I think so much of it will depend on whether or not these entire health centers are relocated, whether it's just the supervised consumption elements of these centers that are shut down. It may well be on a case-by-case basis, but I think at this point it's too soon to provide any general answers to that question.
Okay, we'll leave it at that for this afternoon. CTV's Natalie Johnson, appreciate the update. Thank you.
You're welcome.